friendos! I'm doing a video today on a topic that I feel so enthusiastically about. I dare to call myself an expert. The amount of research that I have put into this topic really wears my PDH.
Bitch, the reason you don't have a PhD is because it's called a PhD.
I have mentioned a plethora of time before how much I enjoy reading books that are about soft boys. Soft boys are generally love interests of books. They are so caring and gentle and passionate, and all their dialogue is so tender and thoughtful. And today I wanted to outline what I think are my favorites and also some of the most widely known, iconic soft boys that books have to offer. The top two I'm going to talk about first are the battle of the best, I would say. Jem from the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare and Seth Clearwater from the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer. I'm gonna go through those individually. Jem is the first character that I wrote down when I thought of soft boys. He is one of the main characters and love interest in a love triangle from the book Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is a series about shadow hunters who defeat demons and automatons, and he is just methodical, and he plays the violin, and he has physical and mental and emotional weaknesses because of this thing that I don't know if I can say it in this video, and so he has that vulnerability to him as well. I think that's also should have been in my list of things about soft boys, is vulnerability is so key, and Jem embodies the most polite, well-meaning, super sweet, down-to-earth, just like cinnamon bun character who wants the best for the love interest. I adore him. Jem could have it any day.
Disgusting!
But the reason why he and Seth Clearwater are kind of battling it out is because Seth Clearwater is the most, like words are failing me. He's so sweet. He just wants the best for everyone, and he's so passionate and excited, and he doesn't want people to fight. And at the most intense book in the series, where every chapter is turmoil, every chapter is conflict, and there's so many warring sides occurring, he's just in the middle like, hey guys! I didn't mean to make him sound like James Charles, but he just wants everyone to get along, and he wants everyone to be happy. I think he is arguably one of the best characters in Twilight, one of my favorite characters of all time. Beyond those two boys, I really don't think there's a ranking system of all the different soft boys. I did intersperse some that are well known that I just want to talk about as characters who are soft versus some new characters that I might suggest to you to read. The next character I want to talk about is Radu from the series And I Darken. It's actually called The Conqueror Saga, but the first book is called And I Darken by Kirsten White. Radu is one of the main characters. His character is interesting because he is dichotomized with his sister, who is this stark, brave, fearless character who will just do anything, hurt anyone, say anything to get her way, versus he is this emotional and vulnerable and kind person who's just driven by his emotions, and he doesn't want to hurt people, and he is not influenced by greed or anything like that. And so the entire series is this polarization of her doing everything for herself and him just so infatuated with the people around him, so courteous to the new religions he's around. I should mention this series is a Vlad the Impaler retelling. Radu's sister is Vlad the Impaler, so clearly very brutal setting there. And I know that the depiction of the history in this series is not perfect, and there's a lot to be commented on as far as representation, but I think just in the sense of this series as a character study, Radu was the most complex and interesting character because he's caught between this turmoil of wanting his sister to like him and yet wanting the best for the Republic, or I guess the country or the people that he's with. And he has the most interesting moral conflicts because once again he so wants to do the right thing. He wants people to like him. He's so emotionally driven and so in touch with people's emotions about him and wanting to be accepted. I couldn't help but root for him the entire series. I highly recommend that series. Radu is definitely a big factor why I gave it such high ratings that I did. The next boy I want to mention is somewhat of an iconic one, albeit a slightly throwback character. Levi from Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I remember when I first read Fangirl, this was when I was first getting into of books that didn't have like the bad main guy, like, you know, the problematic fave type character. Levi was the first character who was a change of pace from that whole stereotype. So Levi is this character that the main character Kath meets at college, and he is just the ultimate sweetie pie. He is so positive toward everyone. He's extroverted. He's kind of like a Seth Clearwater type of soft, where he's just kind. He's not necessarily shy. He's one of the first boys in YA contemporary as well that I noticed was reasonably flawed. So although he's just this character who wants the best for people, he's so smiley and happy all the time, there's still depth to him. He's not just a prototype of a character who's thrust in the story just to be like this sunshine globe in the sky all the time. The purest boy in town. The next two characters I want to talk about are actually a change of pace. It's not YA books that they're from. There's two characters from a series by Christina Lauren that I want to talk about. So the Wild Season series by Christina Lauren starts off with the first book, Sweet Filthy Boy, which by the title makes you think he's just this nasty, pornographic type guy. But the word sweet is in the title, and I think that this character is more sweet than filthy. So this guy's name is Ansel. The main character, whose name is Mia, she's in Vegas for the night because she just graduated college. She and Ansel meet. They have a one-night stand and wake up the next morning after being drunk and realize what they've done. And Ansel offers that she come back with him to France for the summer to just hang out in his Paris apartment and get to know each other and just chill. And she agrees. So it's all about their newly kindled, slightly awkward, fledgling relationship that they're trying to foster. The story is really driven by Mia, but I think Ansel was the perfect supporting role because he's so patient and he's confident but not cocky, which I think a lot of guys in romance can be. He was always just so in tune with Mia, I guess, that he was eager to recognize all of her signals and just be interpretive of anything she was needing or something she wasn't communicating. He was always just very perceptive of her. But there were times when he would let down his guard and just be funny and be nice. I know that we're setting the bar down here and it should be up here, but guys that are just hands down unconditionally caring about girls, it gets me. I'm just like, you care about women and their feelings? So maybe I'm the only one that finds this list relatable because you all have higher expectations than me, but I thought Ansel was just the perfect person that caters to the sensitivities of his love interest and the way that he, again, just perceives her. The ability to listen rather than to try and make a funny comment every other line. Well-written character, but also highly realistic, and I wish he was a real person so I could snatch him up. And then the third book in that series follows the same plot line where these two characters meet in Vegas, but these two characters actually don't have a sexual relationship that night. Unfortunately, these two characters come from the third book in that series, which is called Dark Wild Night. So this character's name is Oliver. The premise of this romance book is that the main character she is a comic artist, and the guy in the book, Oliver, is a comic store owner. This story is a best friends to lovers feast. If you are into that trope, this is for you. And I think the reason why best friends to lovers also goes along with the soft boy trope is just because these two characters are so in tune with one another and they know each other's backstories, they know each other's insecurities and secrets. This whole book is like that, where they just know each other. And even though there's emotional angst, it's still very much driven by the fact that this guy wants the best for her as a best friend and is not necessarily driven to pursue this relationship because he's sexually attracted to her. And I think that's what makes it so special, is you have that deeper connection, and so it's not just some horn dog guy being like, ooh, must hump woman. Also, he was just so supportive of the main character's career. He was feminist. The next character I'll mention briefly because iconic. Peeta from the Hunger Games. You cannot look me in the face and say that Peeta didn't just want the best for Katniss. He wasn't her #1 supporter. He was just #1 bread thrower in my heart. He's someone who's willing to take sacrifices for the greater good. And the fact that he was hijinks and he had to recover from that, and he had to take everything so gently, and it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and he constantly was just trying to be a better person even though he was dealing with a lot of stuff at the time. It's so admirable to me. I want to cuddle him and protect him from the world. He did not deserve it. And that's my spiel about Peter Mullark. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. The next boy I want to talk about is Ocean James from A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tachna Mafi. This book is a new release, so hopefully I'm putting a new character on your radar. This book follows a girl named Shireen who is a Muslim American teenager. This book is set in 2002, right after 9/11, so it's all about how she's having to struggle with xenophobia and people judging her based off of her wearing a headscarf. And Ocean James is the love interest of this book, who's having to pursue this interracial relationship while also staying really in tune with the social repercussions of that. And the reason why Ocean makes it to this list is because he's just so genuinely interested in her well-being, and he wants her to thrive, and he's so supportive of her. Also, his conviction in their relationship, even though at that time it was somewhat unheard of, or at least if not unheard of, everyone in the book frowned upon it, definitely. He was never afraid to ask questions, but he was never intrusive in her life. He was always there for her, wanting to stick up for her. Just the perfect ally, but also as a love interest was super sweet, and the way that he is described in the book, down to the minute details of his dialogue and his mannerisms. I love the way that Tahara fleshes out boys in her YA books because they're so human. I could not have asked for a better character for Shireen to develop feelings for. I loved the two together. I love Ocean as this little sweet soft boy who deserved better. So I highly recommend that book if you're into guys who are just little sweethearts. Next is one that is widely known, but it's controversial if you know me. Lucian from the ACOTAR series by Sarah J Maas. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas is this Fae Beauty and the Beast retelling where this human is taken to the Fae world and then shenanigans ensue. Lucian is the assistant to the High Lord that kidnaps this main character to take her to the fairy world, as is tradition in the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale. But he basically is just like the right-hand man of this dude. The High Lord is very wrathful and angry, and I think Lucian is the perfect balance of rational and quiet and introspective, but we have a rocky relationship. I don't like his actions, but I appreciate his character type. The reason for that is he is just loyal, a type of wallflower character, but who will get down to business if he has to defend someone. I actually was so fascinated by his character and his dualistic almost personality of being really reserved and quiet and respectful versus being a warrior if he needs to be. Maybe that conflicts with the fact that I also say that he annoys me, but nothing's ever black and white. I think he definitely deserves a space on the soft boy list. The last person I want to mention is Jericho from The Diviners by Libba Bray. We're going to talk about him in the context of the first two books because book 3 doesn't exist to me. Basically, The Diviners is the series about these 6 people who have powers and they live in 1920s New York City, defeating these paranormal forces around the city. And Jericho is one of those boys. He works at a museum of oddities, and so he is just this very, once again, thoughtful, introspective, reserved character. But his emotional depth and the way that he feels for people and the way he wears his heart on his sleeve, I think is so admirable. I think the reason why I notice him is because also in this series there is one of those guys that's very outgoing and very flirtatious, whereas this guy is so much more quiet. I don't want to place the stereotype that the loud guy is annoying and like doesn't have feelings and the soft guy is quiet and just like feels things, but I'm so much more drawn toward the quiet guy. Does that say something about me as a feminist? That I'm like, wow, these men who shut up can really get it. Jericho is just a sweetheart, and he's smart and he's passionate. He has a snarky side when he's being protective, but that's just it. It's protectiveness, and he feels things so deeply, and I just really am upset at what happened in book 3 because hashtag not my Jericho. I really, really loved him in book 1 and book 2. That's my 2 cents. I think Jericho definitely deserves a place on this list because he is a sweetheart, must protect Cinnamon Bun. My foot is so beyond asleep, it might be in a coma. I was gonna show it to the camera, but there's probably a weird person out there that's been waiting for me to do that. Not today, Satan. You have to Venmo me for these little feeties. I have certainly read more stories that talk about soft boys and have those characters, and I certainly have more to read. Therefore, if you have any boys that remind you of what I've been talking about in this video that I haven't mentioned, or you don't know if I've heard of the books that they're in, definitely let me know. That also makes me hypocritical because I do also have a soft spot for the guys who are very hard and callous but then have an inner self that's a lot more gushy. Long story short, this video is done. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought of this chatty video. Okay, bye everyone.